Hello, everyone. Sometime this week, somebody contacted me, uh, but I have so many different emails now, and could have been a text message. I don't know. But somebody contacted me expressing some puzzlement, let's say, about Anselm's argument and looking for some help. And I can't find that email or text or whatever it was. And maybe I dreamed it. It's completely possible at this stage of my life. But I thought that. I would respond just generally by taking a closer look at the argument, not sort of laying out what I think the argument is, but maybe making some observations along the way. So whoever you are, if you exist and you contacted me, this video is because you contacted me. Okay, let's just situate ourselves in time here. It's the 11th century. It's 1077 AD or Christian era, whatever we want to call it, in the West. So we're talking about somebody who maybe thinks a little differently than us, but this is an argument that a famous theologian gave. Let me just read through it. I'll try to restrain myself, but make a couple observations that might help. Truly, there is a God, although the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. Okay, so one of the things that we're looking for when we're looking for arguments is we have to remember that they always have two major parts. They have a conclusion, which is what they're trying to establish, and then they have the supporting reasoning that is meant to provide reasons for thinking that the conclusion is true. And the conclusion is always a statement of some sort, I suppose. I mean, classically, not always, but there we've got one. Truly, there is a God. It's just hanging out there. Truly, there is a God. Well, he's not asking you to get down on your knees and pray with him. He's not asking you to take things on faith. He's a theologian and he's a philosopher. So when you make a claim like that, and you're in your guise as philosopher, what what comes next, or what do you have to do, right? And so, Lord, do you, who do give understanding to faith, give me, so far as you know us to be profitable, to understand that you are as we believe, and that you are that which we believe. And indeed, we believe that you are a being than which nothing greater can be conceived. You, God, Anselm says, must be a being greater than which nothing can be conceived. Or is there no such nature, since the fool has said in his heart there is no God? But at any rate, this very fool, when he hears of this being of which I speak, a being than which nothing greater can be conceived, understands what he hears. I'm sorry, there's a typo there. I should say understands what he hears, not what be hears, sorry. And what he understands is in his understanding, although he does not understand it to exist. Interesting, making this distinction between conceiving of something in the mind and as opposed to conceiving of something in the mind that you also believe to exist outside the mind. So if I say to you a being greater than which nothing can be thought, that idea exists in your mind, even if you don't think for the moment that it exists outside your mind. For it is one thing for an object to be in the understanding, and another to understand that the object exists. This distinction between being able to conceive of something, let's say a being greater than which nothing can exist, and that thing really existing, not just in your understanding, but in reality. When a painter first conceives of what he will afterwards perform, he has it in his understanding, but he does not yet understand it to be, because he has not yet performed it. But after he has made the painting, he both has it in his understanding, and he understands that it exists because he has made it. So when a painter is conceiving of a painting, he has the idea, or he or she has the idea of the painting in their understanding, although it doesn't exist in reality. And then after they painted it, performed the act of painting it in accord with the conception in their understanding, it exists both in the understanding and in reality. Hence, even the fool is convinced that something exists in the understanding, at least, than which nothing greater can be conceived. So even the fool, and this is just he's characterizing the atheist here, even the fool believes that the idea of a being greater than which nothing can exist does exist in the understanding. For when he hears of this, he understands it. And whatever is understood exists in the understanding. And assuredly, that than which nothing greater can be conceived cannot exist in the understanding alone. That's key, right? For suppose it exists in the understanding alone, then it can be conceived to exist in reality, which is greater. Now, you want to look for there is contradiction, right? Just a sec. So in any case, you can see that there's a contradiction. And, if you assume something for the sake of argument, and then you see that that assumption leads to contradictions, then that says something about your original assumption. I'm actually making the video right now. It's okay. Don't worry. There's somebody here who's interested in philosophy. Very interested. So somebody is breathing down your neck. So pay quite close attention. They're not in the class, but they probably should be in the class. Not to go into it anymore. I mean, look at the end of it, though. Therefore, if that, than which nothing greater can be conceived, exists in the understanding alone, that is, if you say that we can conceive of such a being, but it exists only in understanding and not in reality, the very being, than which nothing greater can be conceived, is one than which a greater can be conceived. That is, if I say, well, there's a being greater than which none can be conceived, but it exists only in the understanding. Well, I can also conceive of a being that exists both in the understanding and in reality, and that would be greater than my original conception. So my original conception would be of a being greater than which nothing can be conceived, and a being greater than which something can be conceived. That is the one that exists also in reality, leading to a contradiction. And he concludes by saying, but obviously this is impossible. It violates the fundamental rules of logic. Hence, there is no doubt, there is a typo, and a very important one. The last line, the last sentence. Hence, there is no doubt. It should say no doubt, not doubt. Hence, there is no doubt that there exists a being than which nothing greater can be conceived, and it exists both in the understanding and reality. So, hope that helped. I can't go too far beyond that, except to make some comments here and there. It is one of the most challenging arguments in the history of Western philosophy. So if you're having trouble with it, you're not the first one. You're about the millionth one who's had trouble with it. And I'll certainly take that into account, the complexity, not really the complexity, because it's a fairly simple argument. Let's say the subtlety of the argument when I read your weekly assignment.